Good afternoon, media partners. F- First, I would like to introduce the members of the gaming committee. Far to my left, we have the vice chair, Rep. Probes. Next to him is Rep. Members Rep. Roman Beneventi, as well as Rep. JP Sablan. To my right, we have Rep. Flores. Rep. Vice Speaker Camacho, and Rep. Atal as the current member of the gaming committee. Um, so good afternoon. Um, as a chairman of Ways and Means, as well as uh, chairman for gaming, myself and several members of the gaming committee traveled to Manila last week to attend the gaming summit. As a chairman of Ways and Means and members, I understand the need for to be cautious and not waste resources. As we as elected official cannot stand by and hope and pray and expect solutions to come to us. As member of the House, we are constantly criticized for our inactions. We all know the situation we're in, and it will not get any better unless action was taken, and we needed to come up with solutions. In terms of rebuilding our economy, we need to be proactive. As I said, we need to take action. We cannot sit and do nothing. We are looking for ways to jump our gaming industry as well as our tourism and our economy. We are looking for revenue generating ideas, so we can't afford to sit. Um, so, in terms of the Asian Gaming Summit, I will take full responsibility as chair for inviting and bringing members with me to become more familiar with the issues related to gaming in our region and specific our solutions to our situation. Uh, this wasn't the first time I've attended Gaming Summit. I've attended in the 21st Legislature in Manila when I was the chairman of gaming and our casino was still in operation. This summit was a little different as we were able to speak one on one with industry leaders who are familiar with our gaming industry here at the Sinamai. We've asked many questions and got many answers from IPI, online gaming, the junkets, and the current trends gaming in Asia is heading. And depending on how our community feels about our gaming industry and what direction we're heading, we may need to amend 1856. Of course, this will not happen overnight. Community will be involved. I will yield now to my fellow members to make their opening remarks. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we start, I completely agree with our chair, Representative Yumo. Um, the importance of this trip. Um, we learned so much. We had the opportunity to meet with the industry leaders and on gaming and get a better understanding on how gaming works, what can work for our region. We had the opportunity to meet uh, it was like a joint partnership or type of how would you call it, a regulator and an operator type of casino in the Philippines that actually works on the local scale. We learned that maybe it's a lot better, so maybe we open three smaller size casinos that are more feasible for the CNMI. We learned some other interesting facts too, like the fact that we're blacklisted. IPI is blacklisted in terms of international gaming, and that there's so much that we need to improve on, such as our amenities. I mean, right now we also learned that Thailand is like way ahead of the game. We need to figure out ways to attract tourism. Our economy is right now is hurting. I know this trip, a lot of people may have not agreed with it on the onset, but it's a this trip is not. I don't, not to be mistaken that it's not like a Macau trip. This is not a junket trip. This trip was a international conference where many stakeholders attended and learned a great deal from service industry leaders like former legislators people that are experts in the industry, and that we can get a better insight on how things work. That'll work for us moving forward. And we have to understand too that a lot of our programs are tied into gaming at this moment, and our economy is dependent on that. So it was important that for us, as even myself as an officer of the legislature, to go to get a better view on how we shape policies moving forward, and how we better help our people, and help our programs like CACC, public safety. All these things are tied into our economy, and right now we have a hurting tourism industry. So I can't stress the importance of us being aggressively proactive in the effort to revive our economy. So, with that said, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming. Let me begin with a question posed to the members and myself by a prominent journalist named Mohammed Cohen, who was covering the summit. But before I do that, let me give you a brief history of his background. Cohen is an Asia editor-at-large for iGaming Business. He's previously been a contributor to Forbes, a special correspondent for Macau Business Magazine, an editor-at-large for Inside Asia Gaming, and his work has been featured regularly in Asia Times, the South China Morning Post, This Week in Asia, and The Guardian. Cohen's writing on business, politics, media, and culture in Asia has run in The Times, Columbia Journalism Review, International Herald Tribune, and the Los Angeles Times. He has covered the development of casinos in Macau, Singapore, and across Asia, from Sri Lanka to Saipan. Mr. Cohen asked, "Do you think gaming was bad for the CNMI, or was it just bad company?" My response to the question was simple. Gaming has been around for many years, providing revenue for social programs, including the scholarship. I am a firm believer that it was terrible company and horrible leadership. I am not being personal, but the leadership of the commission did not regulate well or adequately understand the consequences of implementing substandard regulations. The current situation is a testament to that, and there is no denying it. But the better question I want to address is this: how can we progress from this point? And my answer is that every leader needs to be informed. We cannot all be experts, but we can do our due diligence to understand the expert advice and ask authentic questions. We can hold a conversation on relevant issues if we are on the same page. We cannot progress if we have some leaders who know the do's and don'ts of the gaming industry and some stuck in the past of the way we usually do things here. We all know and understand what we are talking about, and we all need to understand what we are talking about to debate the issues intelligently. So from this standpoint of whether the trip was worth it, absolutely. I was raised in the gaming industry. My dad owned gaming establishments, and I understand the industry's gaming and non-gaming revenue aspects better than most locals, having been raised in this environment. And I learned much more on this trip. As a leader, I should never assume I have all the answers, but we absorb the knowledge and information gained. And with that said, we have to continue, and we continue to have mass amounts of work to correct the past mistakes. We need to come up with solutions, and we cannot do that by staying home and expecting answers to fall into our lap. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Many has been said already from our members here on the gaming committee. But for myself, I like to say that not only that I'm a member of the gaming committee, but also as a chair of the Saipan and Northern Ireland delegation, I took it upon myself to partake in this summit to better understand. As we all know, we have an exclusive license here in the 3rd Senatorial District, which is not operable at this moment. So I took on myself that I should learn more and find ways uh, to resolve and revive the gaming industry that we have here on the third senatorial district. Most especially, as we all know, that the Palacios and Apatang administration had made a stance that to pivot away from the China market. And what we learned on this summit that the Chinese market is a big market for gaming in the gaming industry in this modern world. So there's many that we have learned through this summit, and we stand ready to answer all your questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We'll now take a few questions.
All right, if I could just begin, could we just get a breakdown of the money behind this, the costs, who paid for it, what was waived, where you stayed, who paid for that? Can you just break down the funding for this trip?
I believe each member paid for their own. I paid for my own trip under my office. We did stay in a hotel. It wasn't a luxury one, but my office operation funded the trip.
And so the average costs for each member and give for your office.
I'm not too sure what each member paid.
How much did you pay?
My trip to the Philippines was $630.
And to attend the actual conference?
The 2,500 something was waived because back in, I believe, January, I requested the Asian Gaming Summit. We explained our situation here in the CNMI, and that a delegation was interested in attending to better understand what the region is doing and how we can better improve our industry here.
All right, and then just my last question before passing it on to my colleagues about the timing of it all. Some of the public criticism is of the nature of the trip, but also its timing. You just passed a revised budget. The austerity measures are going to be happening in just a matter of weeks. We're already feeling the effects. So can you just respond on the timing? It seems as though this. What's the rush to attend something like this right now?
The summit was planned way in ahead. I had requested to meet or to attend as early as December 27 when I invited some of the members. So this is way before the austerity measures was being talked about. With regards to timing, I mean, when is the right time to leave, right? This was our opportunity to attend and learn from what the rest of the region are doing.
May I add to that? I would
Yes,
like
sir.
to add to Marsh's question. Just myself on a personal note too. If you look at my past, I don't really travel or government official business, but I saw the importance of this trip was to get a better insight on how things can benefit the Commonwealth. But now more than ever, we need to move. And also, on a side note, the conference fee was about $2,500, which was waived. And if that wasn't waived, then potentially I wouldn't have gone. Well, the fact of the matter is that it was waived, so we saw it as an opportunity to learn from the experts. Thank you.
Just to follow up, just to make sure we get everyone on record on this, did you all use office funds to pay for your trip? Did anyone pay personally? All right. Okay. Thank you.
That. So, as a JGO chair, I thought it was important for me to attend so that we don't have to make the same mistakes as the previous commissions did, right? By establishing, and again, I will say it, substandard regulations. We are in this position because of that. But no one seems to be talking about that. And I don't have a problem talking about that because that's exactly where we are right now. And to put the gaming committee on a position where, okay, we traveled. Yes, we did travel. We all made a personal choice, but we did it because I'm not speaking for everyone. I did it because I want the best for our CNMI. I do not want to conduct myself in a manner that is poor, which will put us in another situation as we are in today. I did not want that. And I wanted to participate so that I could understand well, call the good judgments. If we're going to debate on issues, we'll debate on what is factual and what is right for the people of the Sinamay. Thank you.
So thank you very much. And I think you've all made great points and why you want to do it and why you went and everything. However, there's a couple questions. I want to just follow up on Tomas's question just really quick before I get to the big thing. Chair, you said that it was $630 for the airfare and then $2,500 for the fee was waived, but there must have been a fee for the hotel, for the meals, for the transportation and everything. It's more than $630.
Yeah, our hotel was, I believe, $36 a night.
Yeah, okay, so just making sure.
It wasn't the Hyatt.
Okay.
That's what you're getting at. Yes.
So the other thing is, the point that you made, except for one point that you made, Rep. Camacho, everything else doesn't seem to present any information of what you gained. It just seems like you're defending your actions. I was hoping that you might be able to tell us some of the specifics that you brought back, because it really feels like you're on the defensive footing on it. And really, we want to know what it is that you learned and what you brought back.
Maybe I can start on that question, Brad, and maybe my peers could add more. So what we learned actually, and what we gained from this summit, is that we all know that before the creation of the exclusive license, it was designed for junkets to designed to market on junkets. We found out that the junkets on the region on gaming right now is dying. It's dead. It's a dead market. So we need to rebrand. We need to look on ways how we're gonna deal with a different approach with our casino industry. And maybe my colleagues can add more.
At one point, we were all discussing how we could somehow remove ourselves from this catastrophe that was created, right? And iGaming came up as a topic. We're not experts in iGaming, but an opportunity arose for us to meet with professionals in the industry, and we did that. The information we gained was that it is not appropriate at this time. Had we not gone on this trip and we had just consulted amongst ourselves, researched amongst ourselves, asked our counsels amongst ourselves, and not had these intellectual conversations with the professionals, with the ones that actually market iGaming, brand iGaming, sell iGaming, we would have put ourselves in a very poor situation and made the same mistakes that would have been very costly and catastrophic. Add insult to injury, we probably would have done that. But the choice was made that we need to decide what we need to do. The opportunity arose for us to meet with the professionals, and we did it. Whether or not we're going to be criticized for that, I'd rather be criticized doing the right thing than to be criticized doing the wrong thing.
Well, if I may, nobody over here has criticized you at all.
Brad,
so we're really.
That's not what I said. What I said was
Right.
I would rather be criticized, not you guys, but for me on a personal stance as a leader, I'd rather be criticized doing something right than doing something wrong. I think everybody here has their own idea of why we went and what it cost. It would have cost us much more in the long run. But I am not saying that you guys are passing judgment on me. Anybody, that's a human nature thing to do, to pass judgment. But as a leader, I made the decision, and I'll stand by my decision.
So the main thing that you brought back is that the iGaming is just not a good opportunity for us to get into.
iGaming is not the way. It would have been much worse had we decided amongst ourselves, just like some leaders in the past have done. When the Casino Commission went on those trips, they never shared anything about what was right and what was wrong. They unilaterally made the decision themselves, and the testament to that is the eyesore that now sits in the middle of my precinct. Thank you.
I'd like to add also, the bottom line, I mean, the chair is going to probably close with this today at the end of the press conference. But the bottom line is, from the Strip, aside from talking to the service industry experts, the bottom line is that exclusive license is just not going to work here. We have gotten valuable insight from past legislators or on those regions that were massive experts on this field of gaming, and we were told that you get rid of the exclusivity, the exclusive gaming license, and we're gonna get investors. They will come.
Well, you mentioned Mohammed Cohen as one of the people who you spoke with. In fact, when we were doing stories about him back in 2014, he spelled out exactly what he thought was going to happen with IPI, and every step of the way, it was exactly what he knocked out. So you absolutely were speaking, like you said, with an industry expert who called all those shots. I imagine, I'm curious to know if he offered any insight of where he thought that the CNMI should go.
We had brief conversations. Again, he stands on the sentiment that the CNMI at that time made a big mistake, that we poorly regulated this industry. And that's all I have to say about that. But that was the conversation that we had. It was brief. We had lunch, the commute with everybody was around us. And it was very truthful. Did it hurt? Absolutely. Did it hurt for people in that industry to tell us how poorly we did? Were we ashamed? Absolutely. But we stood there and we took it with a grain of salt, and here we are.
That's great.
Besides the knowledge and wisdom that you brought with you here that you probably utilize in case you need to change the law, is there other concrete things that you would like to share the CNMI that you got from this trip? Well, I mean, concrete things that, things that you can take opportunity right away. Like maybe you met an investor there, people that we can grab right away to move forward.
No, we didn't meet with any investors. These were mostly regulators and people that were involved in the prospective region. I've come out with, I think since last legislature, I think I've been pushing iGaming for a while. I think my colleague and vice chair would agree with that because I pushed it so many times with him. But coming back from this trip, I mean, everything with what's going on in the Philippines, they spoke a lot about iGaming, and they are basically shutting it down because there was other avenues that the Philippine government was having trouble with the Chinese operators. So with what Rep Flores was just mentioning, it's true. I was actually pushing it a lot. Now it's pretty much off the table at this point. There's no funding to be made out of iGaming. I think the the funds that will be generated is for the operators only. The CNMI will not stand to gain anything from iGaming. So that's my position, my new position now.
So if I may add also, with iGaming, one of the reasons we were told by the experts that it cannot happen here in the CNMI, we don't have the capacity, the broadband, the internet capacity for even iGaming. That's a no-brainer. Okay. First you mentioned about junket is something that dead already, and e-gaming is not possible already. iGaming is not possible already. The reason I'm bringing this up because although there is no casino right now in the CNMI, the law is still there. That means the law still allows the only thing that we don't have is the investor. So the people are waiting to hear from you. What did you bring back? Something concrete that we can at least, resuscitate the casino industry.
So one thing they were telling us to do is remove IPI. That's it.
And look for a new investor.
Revoke the license and they will come. And now, who are they? We don't know because we haven't gone out and asked for investors to come in. They gave us an advice as to removing or revoking the license would start the trend again. Now, is the CNMI ready for it? Maybe not. I think we'll be a lot more careful this time if we're gonna allow gaming to continue in the CNMI. That's something that we have to decide that, and the people. I'm sure every community member will be actively involved, whether they want to continue. Now, if the general community says no, stop, then we'll have to end it at that. We'll have to respect what the people want.
My question is, why no casino commissioner attended the summit? Were they invited?
I'm sure they get the notices of those conferences. As to why they didn't attend, I cannot answer that.
And follow-up question for Congressman Ataw and Binabentian, perhaps, why you did not join the summit?
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Ferdy. I think everybody was waiting for that. But for me, I actually had a personal obligation to attend to. But I also am a firm believer that the chairman and the members that participated in this conference they have the right people. We have the chair of JGO, which has the history of the gaming industry as per 18-56 and its predecessors, 1837, 1842, and then 1856 as a final product that created the exclusive license. We have the vice speaker that has direct contact with the administration should that the potential of investors to be interested in investing in the CNMI, that's the administration's position, is to invite the investors. It's not the legislature's position. It's the legislature's position is to implement what these investors are going to bring into the CNMI. We also have the chairman of the delegation, which is Congressman John Paul Sablan, that participated in this summit. So we have key individuals in key committees and the chairman of the delegation that participated that can bring to the forefront ideas to present to the CNMI. We understand that 1856 presents an exclusive license for the CNMI, but the CNMI is not only Saipan and the Northern Islands. The CNMI is Rhoda, Tinian, and everything else beyond Saipan, right? So the delegation can also get involved in this and introduce some sort of local casino that maybe that they have learned from this summit that we can actually present to our people. The casinos that I guess from my understanding through their trip, is that we need foot on the ground players now, or tourists, or whatever you might want to call them. But the the uh, the junket gamblers is a dead market right now. It's very clear. China's already told them that whoever's part of the casino gaming outside of the country, China, will go to jail, and a lot of people have gone to jail. So they control that market. And I believe, my personal belief is, Representative Humo, our chairman of gaming, introduced a legislation in the last legislature that we should revisit to add teeth to it, strengthen it, and hopefully use the knowledge that they earn from all of the leaders of the industry, the experts, and we can present a legislation for the third senatorial district to be able to have casino gaming within the third senatorial district. Like I said, exclusive license is the CNMI's license, but they're not giving beef to Rhode and Tinian for having casino. But in our constitution, what it says is that if the central government allows for a certain industry to be in it, it allows the senatorial districts to also create their own. So, with that being said, I didn't go. I had personal obligations to attend to, but I believe that the team that went, we can revisit specific legislations that have been produced so that we can move forward with that. And obviously, the people will be involved in making this process. We understand how the exclusive license was used against the retire for the retirees, which pushed the industry. Therefore, the industry was successfully implemented in the cinema. Now we have to be creative enough within our municipalities, and if we grow it on the island of Saipan, it'll help Rhode and Tinian. At the end of the day, it's going to help the Sinamai. So, well, thank you for that question.
I'd like to add on to what Rep. Atto mentioned. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, real quick. Answering Arnold's question about product, what product do we bring back? And that's the product we're actually discussing right now when when we came back from the trip, we discussed. We met with the gaming committee to revisit Rep Yumo's bill, because from all the discussions with the experts in the industry, we we thought that maybe that local bill would be the most feasible thing right now at this moment. So that just to add on to that. Thank you.
Is that the iGaming?
Thank you, everyone. Freddie, the reason why I didn't go, they invited me. The chairman invited me to go, but unfortunately, I had some family obligations that I had to attend at the time, and I wasn't able to attend. But for whatever it's worth, in this group that have went to the Philippines, I put my entire support on them because I believe in them. I work with these guys. In 1856, when the bill was first drafted in the legislature, I was here during the time. First, it was brought up that there was going to be 3 casinos on the table at that time, and then they finally came in and do a sole source, only 1 casino. And when that thing came about, I just refused to vote. I voted no. I think I'm the only person in there that voted no during that session. And I'm strong to it because I know that we need a competitive approach with regards to this type of business. You need that one. If one casino falls, you can resort to another casino that will augment the situation as we progress forward. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way, and everything after the implementation of the casino, I went ahead because the majority ruled, and I went ahead and I support. I only put in my amendments in the bill, and I include all the education benefits that's supposed to be afforded to the education and the retiree. Unfortunately, they gave some to the retiree, but the education, I don't even know how much proceeds was given to the education during that period of time. So I look at that point and I consider right now we have been challenged by 2 casinos already. The Tinian dynasty that fell, and then again this one. Everything was kept quiet when they gave it to us. I mean, they when they were implementing this casino, the IPI. The information was never. Everything was shut down. Information was shut down to the legislature. We never have no information, so we have to, scrounge around to try to get information, and that's how we we move ahead. But unfortunately, it you know it come up to this point, and that's why I said I support these people who took the challenge upon to meet with the people that are involved down in the Philippines. I don't know who they are because I never went, but the fact remains is that we know now the do's and don'ts of how to approach this kind of industry if it comes upon again once. And in my personal opinion, I would rather see that we would, you know, we would get rid of this present casino situation that we have on island and move ahead. And if an opportunity comes around again, we would do more diligence with regards to the decision facing forward. Thank you.
You're gonna time me now, Chairman. Thank you. Thank you for coming today, and thank you, Chairman and colleagues, for putting forward this press conference, attending and answering the questions today truthfully, and sharing your insight as to what you gained from this trip. I was asked earlier by Freddie why I didn't attend, and this time coincided with my parents' 1 year death anniversary. So my sisters had flown in. That was a very personal matter. and it was a priority for me to make sure that I am here for my parents' 1 year anniversary. So I made that clear from the beginning that I would not be able to attend, but I did have full faith and confidence in my chairman and colleagues in travel. And in fact, I was excited to hear that they were going, so they would hear these things firsthand. And I say this because of the difficulty that we have had as legislators in trying to obtain and access information from the Commonwealth Casino Commission. If you do recall, um, even when I was chairman, there was discussion from the previous legislature in the 22nd of considering an oversight hearing uh, with regard to the things going on with the casino, and we had to decline on that. We made a decision to because of the ongoing litigation that was happening with between the CCC and IPI and in trying to revoke the license. But we'd also have discussions, and much of the questions that we had, we couldn't get answers to because they'd always say, "Well, we can't really answer that because of litigation and because we're in a lawsuit." Um, we felt that it was important that that our colleagues, these lawmakers, go and hear it firsthand from the best sources. And why not later? It's difficult to plan this trip later because you got to go when the conference actually exists, which was uh, coinciding at this time. Um, in terms of optics, there are concerns about the cost of this trip, but you also have to look at the cost of this trip is far less for all of them to go on one trip than a first class ticket between a governor and a first lady on a trip on a round trip ticket to Honolulu and all their expenses. I'm just saying if you compare these two, my colleagues, none of them did anything unethical, immoral, or illegal. The fact is that they spent within their own budget. They came back and we were in discussions through WhatsApp and through other things to discuss things that they were learning because we were excited to hear things that were occurring and what they were learning. But also, I just want to add that to hear firsthand that IPI was blacklisted was surprising because we've never heard that from the CCC. We've never heard that IPI's not is blacklisted or how they their reputation is tarnished. We never really heard anything. Have any of you? I haven't. I've never heard from them to say that. Um, I want to finish this by saying one of the things that I never want to say is "I told you so" because I remember my dad used to say, "Don't ever do that. That's just there's no point to saying that." But Brad, you had mentioned earlier about um, sorry, was it Mr. Khan that Cohen, Mr. Cohen, that had spoken about the future and the mistakes they made. Um, I wasn't a legislator back then, but I also criticized the monopoly license. I was also one of the activists who were saying that you should not have a sole source. And I also criticized many of the decisions that were being made spontaneously and instantaneously, and and that junket on Macau. Everything I said was fell on deaf ears. And when I became a legislator, we had a little bit more say, which is great because now we have the ability to speak for our constituents. But I can't do my job in just trying to convince my colleagues. It's important for them to see things firsthand, and most especially our freshman lawmakers who, for the first time ever, they traveled and they came back to criticism, and criticism is part of this job. You have to take it, and no matter how difficult it may get. But I'm just proud that my colleagues are here today to speak on what they did learn and to speak about things that will be changed, maybe prevented. One of the things that Chairman Yomo has had a change of heart is iGaming, because he spent much of his time trying to convince me to support iGaming. But it is things like that where we learn, and had they not gone on this trip, perhaps they wouldn't have learned that. So um, I will be criticized for supporting my colleagues. so be it. But I believe that the price to pay for what was learned and moving forward in trying to revoke that license, that we must revoke the license from IPI. That is a must. It must happen. No matter what IPI tries to do, their license must be revoked. We are appreciative of the things that they did, but let's be honest, there's a lot of things that they did not live up to the promises, and it is time that we revoke the license and move forward into either finding new investors or just killing the industry and doing something about that rotting corpse of an eyesore right in the middle of the heart of Garapan. Thank you.
Let me record Sally first before we go with the second round. Okay. So,
All right, and so representatives, you've alluded to Governor Palacios's pivot away from China. We both even heard from MVA at the Chamber of Commerce. Rep. Probst, you were there at the Economic Forum about how they couldn't even market casinos and how they're trying to market family tourists. Just yesterday, MWR through Joint Region Marianas held a presentation. They're also looking for the same thing in terms of recreation and family-oriented tourism. So, given the pivot away from China and its dominance in tourism and in both casinos, who are the investors now? Who are the players? Who's actually going to come given our pivot away from China?
you wanna? Well, we spoke to one of the general managers from Pacor, Mr. Enrico Livello, and he stresses focusing now on Korean market, the Taiwanese market as an open market for this type of industry. Um, so we must, in other words, we're steering away from the Chinese market. That's a given. They're not coming out. I believe they're even called different travelers. It's not junket. It's called a international player traveler, something like that. So they're trying to circumvent their own regulations as far as junket. So they did tell us to pretty much focus on the Taiwanese market and the Korean market, as part of maybe something that they're even Paccore itself is looking into. So we are, we're going to look at that option. Maybe the Taiwan and the Korean would be the best market at this point in time right now.
Do you have any? Do you have any concerns given the geopolitical tensions in the region? Taiwan's right in the middle of it. So
Well,
how do you prepare for that?
That's one of the main reasons why they were I guess informed us that we should start looking away from the Chinese market because of the geopolitical issue that's going on right now. So yes.
And then lastly, so obviously an exclusive casino license is a huge incentive. If that's going to be revoked, what incentives are you going to be offering? As Vice Speaker was saying, rather have 3 small casinos. So what incentives will you make to make that plausible and ethical?
We haven't decided that yet. I know I have a law that's sitting down with our council's office with regards to local gaming and having 3 licenses. That hasn't been brought out yet. It hasn't been introduced, but that's something that the members of the committee will have to discuss. And I'm not even sure if the community is ready for it. What we're looking at now is more of a smaller type casino gaming, which is kind of like the Club C style, where each hotel, if they're interested at a smaller price, can have their own gaming here in the cinema. That's the only way. So there's no building of 2,000 rooms. That's not going to happen anytime soon. I think every region is preparing for a different type of gaming with regards to non-gaming revenue. So that's what we're looking at right now. The question now is the cinema ready for it? That's something that we're going to have to bring out to the public. Obviously, the community will be involved in all of this decision making.
And I just want to add to that. I think it's really important that we discuss the rebranding. When you talk about tourism, we have to talk about rebranding. And when you're talking about iGaming and gaming, I'm not going to isolate one business, but we don't even have a standard. We went from a huge casino to we have some casinos or some little smaller casinos with, I mean, I don't even want to say it, but we have to reestablish ourselves, and we have to rebrand ourselves as an island of a destination that is wholesome, that is safe, that is marketable. And how we're going to do that, it's much bigger than just gaming, much bigger than that.
So just a couple of questions. Just before I get to it, just a clarification, Rep. JP. You mentioned earlier, you mentioned that the governor's initiative to pivot away from China, but you also said China was a major player. I just wanted to clarify, did you mean that we should try to re-engage with China?
No, not at all.
Okay.
What I was saying is, in the gaming industry, China is a big market in the gaming industry. I didn't, but since the administration has put a stance that we should pivot away, the next big market would be Taiwan and Korea.
Rep. Joel, you mentioned something in your opening statement. You said Thailand is way ahead of the game. So I want to see if you could explain a little bit about that.
Okay, so one of the presenters at this the summit was I don't know if you guys ever heard of Hans Corporation or Hans. They're building a reserve right now in Manila, or in the outskirts of Manila or Philippines, called the Hans Reserve. It's a $4 billion integrated resort, and what you call is sorry, but can you repeat that question?
Just one of the things you said when you opened up, you said Thailand is
Yeah.
way ahead of the game.
They
And so-
emphasize that a lot of the integrated resorts are leaning towards Thailand. I think Thailand has two gaming licenses right now for casino, and their market's very stable. They're looking in the next 5 to 10 years that they're possibly going to have the highest GDP in the world as a result of the gaming industry and integrated resorts. And I just want to add to earlier from Thomas's question about the minimum investment. We learned too that from the experts that sometimes our expectation on the minimum investment in the amounts of like 100 million, 200 million are just not reasonable or feasible for the size of the Marianas. So they kind of gave us some advice that maybe lower the expectation to a $50 million investment, because if you're looking for long-term sustainability, you're looking at giving them a chance to grow as well. So that's one of the things that we got to keep our minds open to.
Well, what's a $4 billion resort when we were going to have a $7 billion integrated resort? And we also had the highest GDP in the world at one point. Aren't they less than us already? No. There's not really a good question in there. I apologize. But the next thing, we've heard it from a few of you already. You've mentioned that we heard from the folks at the conference, said we need to revoke that license. We heard it very passionately from Representative Probst. We need to revoke that license. If you're all in agreement with that, I see you nodding. What's the next step, and what would prevent us from doing that now? And who's the body that does it, and what would be our obstacle from doing that?
That will be the Casino Commission. They're the body that revokes. It's not the legislature. If we try to amend or repeal, then we just get more tangled in the lawsuits, and so it's not us. It will be the Commonwealth Casino Commission.
Are they still an active organization?
I believe they're meeting tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. They have posted a meeting tomorrow. So
will you be presenting at that meeting?
No, I won't be presenting. I think their discussion was more towards the
mediation. Mediation. Is it the mediator? Mediation.
That's another. We're not involved. They're gonna go into. They're gonna go into an executive session. So maybe at a different time I'll come and present to them. But I believe their main focus is about that ongoing mediation, I guess.
Is there a way, an official way, unless you end up doing it in like an informal conversation? I mean, from what you made it sound like, this is some massive information that they need to hear. that we've spoken with these industry professionals from throughout the region. They all tell us the same thing, that we need to revoke the single license for IPI. How do you, as a body of the gaming committee, convey a message like that to the gaming commission?
Well, that's something the administration can do right now is have them step down. Obviously, they're not doing their job as far as revoking the license. That's the purview now of the administration. What can we do? We can resolution, but that doesn't do anything. It's just a formality, basically.
So are they running in opposition to you? Is that what's happening right now? They're not paying attention to the legislators?
No, they haven't reached out to me as far as inviting. They'll just send us notice. I don't even believe the chairman of the CCC is on island, so I'm not sure how we gonna communicate.
Can I add to that? Look, let's be just straightforward. Let's just cut all the stuff. Okay, let's just call it like it is. I don't know why they're sitting on this. I have no idea why. But I'll tell you this. Did IPI, is there enough substantial evidence? Have they committed enough grievances and enough mistakes to have that license revoked by now? 1,000 times over. 1,000 times, 1,000 times over. There is no reason, absolutely none, why this has to be mediated or talked about or whatever. The laws are clear. The laws are very clear. This license can be revoked today. Had they chose to do so, they have more than enough grounds to do so. My question is, why aren't they doing so? What are they afraid of? Are they afraid that IPI is going to sue the living daylights out of the Commonwealth when they haven't lived up to everything that they have promised? Yes, you've given us millions and you've made billions. But the fact is, did you live up to your promises? Did you live up to everything? All your expectations? What's in those contracts? What the Commonwealth contract that you signed, IPI signed right now, was violated because they didn't follow it and they haven't lived up to it. The sad thing is the commissioners have been sitting on this. I don't know what the excuses are, but we're tired of it. And if we could do something right now and create a law today, that'd be great. But we would be tangled into that lawsuit. The correct procedure that must be done, revoke the license, deal with the lawsuit after. If somebody disagrees with me, let's go to tails of the tape and look at the multiple violations or the things that they didn't live up to. So it's all there in black and white. Everybody has seen it.
Well, that's it. The Casino Commission's a separate organization. Are you able to pull them in front of the legislature, in front of the House of Representatives, like you did with other organizations, and ask them those questions?
And they will say, I'm sorry, I cannot comment. We are in litigation. That is the answer we will get. And I can assure you that because when I had private meetings with them, when I was chairman and now vice chairman, those are the answers we get.
Thank you.
I just like to follow up with Congressman Probst. I mean, really, let's just call a spade a spade. Who are they protecting? Obviously, it's not the people of the CNMI. And if I'm going to get heat for that too, so be it. But that is the question. Why haven't you revoked their license? Simple. So, well, are they willing to answer that question? That's on them. But what did we do? What we thought was in the best interest of the CNMI taking this trip? Absolutely.
That's it. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Oh, well, I have one last question, just but not about the gaming.
Thank you. Everybody.
Have you heard about the report? It was in Hawaii News about Mokulele Airlines that's got the same owner as Mariana Southern and Southern Airlines, that they are sending 3 10-cam planes to Lanai, the island of Lanai. And we just happen to have 3 10-cam planes from MSA. Have any of you been contacted at all by any of your folks that they may be shipping the planes off island?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.